All right, there y'all go.
Thanks,
See you later.
Starting, yeah. All right, let's get started. See everything, Karen?
Oh, yeah, okay. Maybe we should introduce everybody so they know.
Yeah, let's
who's
go
here.
around. Red, you want to start?
Redstone for the county council. David Shelsky, chief deputy auditor.
Karen Martin, auditor.
Brian Hugel, budget finance director.
Mike Rickner, Fort County Councilman.
Mark Fisher, Chief Financial Officer at Opportunity Enterprises.
Linda Jones, Purdue Extension.
Hello, thank you for coming.
You're welcome. It's my pleasure.
I wasn't here for the last meeting. It's good. I guess what you said was you and Red.
We talked about just the corner situation. You and I touched base this morning on that.
Yeah. You get, email from Lee today? Just.
I'll be honest with you, I've been in Chicago all day at job sites and job meetings, so I didn't even.
But, let's say, I think this is just recent.
Look,
Might be, but so it's asking for money or people.
I'll remember that when I said.
Oh, no, I got it from Joy. I'm sorry.
if that's the one, Mike,
That we,
you know what, did I talk to you with that one? I apologize. He called me and asked me first about if it's a transfer of his own money, not using his overtime.
here we go.
And I said, well, as long as you're not adding a new person, I said, I think that's fine, but, you know,
$10,000 transfer for a part-time document scanner for various departments, and you'd like to raise her, I guess that's a person, document scanner, I thought it was
oh,
equivalent,
no, this wasn't the one, this was something else.
from $15 to $18 because she's doing a great job. So, and he also brought on an intern from Ivy Tech and would like to keep him, so he would need to start paying him as well.
Does that come out of hourly? I think it's come out of hour. I told him, I said, as long as it's not brand new position, it's coming out of hourly, you can, then, you know, I have no problem with that, but as far as adding new positions, you know, my feeling on that, so.
I do believe both of those positions are hourly.
And I think he had the money for.
They're
overtime or
hourly out
something.
of just their IT budget, so.
We met with IT this week and he was explaining a couple of things. And I also told him that if he, because he's gonna do, our scanner has now left and taken a job in Indianapolis. And so I told him, because he offered for his scanner person to assist us, and I said, if necessary, and you need funds, I would transfer from our budget to his budget too. So if he's gonna help the whole county, I think it's a benefit.
So you think you're good with it? And as far as giving the raise from, what about paying the intern? Is that something that?
We pay our interns, what are we paying our intern? 17?
Is that a straight fee no matter where they're interning at?
No, I
No.
think what happened was,
Each
planning
department-
commission was doing 20, they went 2022, it depends on which department, what type of intern.
I
I
think we,
think the maximum we've gone is 25 maybe.
and I think that might have been for an engineer or something, maybe not. But for the planning commission, maybe engineering or something, but it seems like everybody's in the 17 to 22, 20. If I had to guess, it'd be $17 to $22 range, $17 to $20 range for pretty much everybody, because they can't, you know, find people, so.
And just so you know, on the bottom of those budgets, when it says up to, like, so for example, like our department says up to $26 an hour that we could pay someone, but we still pay her only $17.50, so each department doesn't have to go all the way up to their max. It's just, you know, if someone's been there for a long time or has a lot of experience, you know.
And sometimes we don't have a specific type of part-time position, just as part-time up to a certain amount. So it could be a scanner at 17, or it could be someone working in the
Intern.
GIS or an intern.
Yeah.
So that it would encompass everything, so you don't have each one broken down because it gets a little more complex.
Let me ask a question about would like to raise her from $15 to $18 an hour. This is out of,
That's general fund.
okay, so that's different than what this other stuff is asking. And,
Well, the other is still a 144 out of general fund. He's just raising the $15 to $18. But it is general.
And at the end of the day, if they say, oh, we had 20,000 in overtime. If you raise the hourly rate, that just means you're getting less hours out of that, you get what I'm saying, like. As much. just
Unless you
because-
give them an addition.
Do more with less.
Unless they do, yeah, unless they ask for an additional, which
I guess
that,
it comes down to, again, here we are, middle of the year asking for raises, I mean. I just, setting a precedent. You know, department has, so-and-so is doing a great job, I'd like to give them a $3 an hour raise, that could go across the board.
I would like to have seen it all done last year because everybody knew the market rate. That's, I mean,
We just did
when-
the study.
when I think Mike Jable was like, hey, we're getting an engineer, from Valpo, whatever. Well, I think they're at 15. And I'm like, 13. I'm like, you're never gonna, my daughter, like I said, working for Passion and she's in the construction management program as a freshman at Purdue. And she gets paid 20 as an intern for Passion. I'm like, you're never gonna get a kid from Valpo to come here for $13 an hour.
Well, the other thing is he's looking at changing job descriptions in the planning commission and stuff. So when he's changing job descriptions, that's probably when we should address an increase instead of just arbitrarily doing it now.
So as far as, what we're thinking then on this recent request is we're okay with the intern getting paid and the transfer, but I don't know about the raise.
in the rate, yeah.
Yeah, just tell
At
him.
this point, yeah. I mean, but that's just two of us,
Right.
so. Here we go again, it's just, it should wait till budget time, I think. But that's just two of us. So either I might just tell Joyce that he can put two things on the agenda, but we're not gonna consider the increase.
So the increase would come out of the general fund then? It wouldn't come out of any overtime or anything?
Well, it's coming out of his overtime in the general fund. It's a 1,000 series.
Okay,
So what's happening is he doesn't use the overtime, so he's just moving it up to the hourly 11.20. And that's where the money would come. But as Ryan said, it doesn't matter how much he has in there. If he's going to take it to $18 an hour, he takes it to 18, but he loses the additional time available.
right, but that's what I'm asking, is it's technically on the, if, let's just say his line item, say $20,000. We're not increasing in his
No.
general fund, all we're doing is decreasing the hours that's because we have to make more in order to get somebody.
Right.
At this point, until you get to budgets and you ask for an increase.
Right,
The thing is, that's his $20,000
Overtime.
overtime budget. Some department heads, they don't have that. So they have people that can say they're doing a great job, but they don't have that flexibility that some departments do, where they have that kind of that pool of money.
that's probably why they all raised it.
Well, the
Last budget,
situation though, if you
20
think
bucks.
about it, overtime is like time and a half. So you've got individuals that are now making $45 an hour that were making $30 an hour. And you're looking at an hourly rate, at 17 or 18 compared to overtime, so you're gonna be paying time and a half. That's a big difference. So I would much rather have somebody have his money in hourly than in overtime.
I just think these should come at budget time. This doing stuff in the middle of the year, just trying to get away from that. It's just, it never ends. And-
Mike, I see it, I see it now, I mean, I do, and I think,
And I'm not saying this person that
Right,
doesn't deserve
right.
it, or isn't worth it, but it's just the timing. Trying to clean things up and some, this is a budget time discussion. If you have a good employee that you want to bump them up, but not again, here we are in June. And then we just did the budget and we just did the wage study and,
Well, that's the other
he
thing.
didn't bump any of his hourly up in his budget last year, I guess, not right?
He didn't finish upping.
A lot of focus last year was all on the salaries and getting that met. A lot of hourly was, I guess,
They
kind of,
primarily stayed within the realm that they were in.
yeah. And then once it got out, kind of more that people were making upwards, along with, legislations in other states and everything, but then it kind of just became norm that $18 to $22 was now the going hourly rate instead of the 13, 17. So,
But I guess from another standpoint is, he has a point. You know, if we constantly, because we've already done it, I don't know how many times this year already. We've increased individuals substantially. We have individuals that during the budget, we increased outside of the Wagner and Shaley guidelines that are past midpoint. And then we've made decisions to where, individuals are getting, you know, when you look at overtime, we have $200,000 in some departments, 180,000 in others. We have some people that have already made maybe $10,000 already this year in overtime. And so those are the things we need to address when it comes to personnel, because we're not looking at a straight hourly fee.
But that's when you ask them, I don't mind paying 10,000 overtime as long as it's saving from hiring another person, it's gonna cost us 60,000, or with benefits 80,000. I don't know
Well,
that.
some of the other thing is we can't keep them in the department anyway, so.
The managing overtime, the department head, they should be managed better. I don't know if there's an idea that it's gonna increase it if they run out. I think that's kind of been a thought, is that, well, if we run overtime, money, we know the council of the government knows we need people, let's ask for more, because we ran out.
And I think there's been one or two that already asked for overtime this year. Correct.
Yeah. But, I mean, overtime should be approved by the department head. If it's pre-approved, if they know they're gonna work it, or if it's activity generated, I mean, somehow they have to. Anyway, it's just my thoughts on that. It's a lot of money overtime. And if it comes to a point that there is no more, then maybe they would, manage it a little bit tighter. But, just don't know if that is sunk in.
I agree with you, due to the fact, the positions that we're in is that, probably these changes should not be made until budget process. Number one, number two is we need to keep that in mind though, when we have all these other ones coming in. There has to be some consistency. It just can't be, oh, this falls within this realm, or, these people have this, because it just seems like the ones that ask the most get the most, and the other ones that sit back and don't ask for it and try to go in the guidelines are the ones that get left out. We did meet with IT, animal shelter,
So
council on aging, commissioners, and then we got our second meeting with the sheriff on 24th at stormwater.
What's on the other end?
Well, we're talking about, as we stated, there was 1 year where the sheriff had requested an additional $1 million, but turned back $990,000, which meant during that period of time, he could have transferred from other line items instead of locking that money up. So we're trying to work with them so that they now look at what they have there and plan properly instead of just automatically coming to you from the money. It's more of a planning, proactive instead of reactive. The first one we sat down, we talked about a couple of things. We were going to work with the unexpended items from 21, 22, and 23 to find out which areas have had substantial amount of monies left into it. If they've asked for transfers, if they've transferred out of it, if they've asked for additions, that type of thing. So Ryan and Dave are getting the reports together, then we're evaluating them. We met with animal shelter. They were looking at another person like Andy Vasquez had said that one meeting. And we told them that we would suggest they take it out of their donations. They still have 850,000. 950,000 left in there. And then they had stated that they were afraid that after using that for 6-7 years, they would be out of money. But we also suggested that if that is the case, have you compared your adoption fees to the other counties surrounding us? And maybe go to the commissioners and request an ordinance be created for a new amount, because I think they're one of the lowest ones in the area.
Yeah.
We need to look at outside sources, and that's what we're trying to do. And so she said she would do that, and then we were talking to her about unexpended, and we also told her we can find the unexpended money, but you need to have a priority. You can't just say you need this, need this, need this. You have to have priorities 1 through 5 so that we can address them. Just can't just throw it out there and expect us to cover it all.
If the person's full-time, they want.
Yes. which means you've got all the other benefits too. And we're trying to make sure that people, when they're looking at the benefits, they keep that in that budget, so that we don't pick it up in the general fund. Then we had, met with, Jabo. And, like I stated, he wanted to change some of the job descriptions, change some of the, not so much the funding, but the amounts. And I told him that those things needed to be gone by the Wagner Irwin Shealy setup that we currently have. Find out what description they fall under, whether it's labor trades and whether it's clerical, those types of things, or professional. And then we also mentioned to him that he needed to know what the additional job descriptions were going to entail, due to the fact that you can't just add another duty and expect it to bump it up to another salary. That's not how it works.
We'll look at, 1.5 million. Yeah, please, we can.
How about your salary? Yeah, okay.
Not an award.
Okay, then Rex.
As far as J-Bo and that, that he needed that.
match the grant.
For CCMG.
The CC,
Yeah, where we can find that. from.
oh, I was gonna say, right now, the answer is no. We don't know exactly. I mean, again, they have asked, we have the 1.5 million match. They want an additional 1.5. So they want 3 million.
Do we have the one for the match for the CCMG though? Can we get
First
that?
1.5.
First 1.5.
That one's gonna be tough. I mean, again, it just gets harder and harder. Again, some of it's state legislation, some of it's, some of their own doing, but everyone wants it, but no one wants to pony up for it. You ask highway, well, we can't use restricted money. You ask stormwater, that's not our department. It's like.
But I mean, if
So everyone wants
but
this.
people, but if stormwater, highway, if people have money sitting there, and like I said, it's not like these projects are getting pumped out every 6 months. I mean, the Jackson project took a year and a half to get done, and that was designed. So there's some planning that you can use that money for other things.
Well, and again, that's to me kind of where I'm at. Like my initial suggestion was highway, if you can kick in 500,000, stormwater, if you can kick in 500,000, or local roads and streets, kick in whatever fund you want to pick it from, and then say the commissioners kick in, 500,000. Okay, fine. Not everyone gets, the bear the brunt there, but at the same time, everyone that is involved in it is still contributing to it, and then we don't have to guess. Is it, are we stealing it from the health department this year? Are we gonna steal it from
Interest on,
yeah,
yeah.
anywhere else? Like it's budgeted and it's accounted for, but again, talking to those departments, they don't seem to wanna or can't use their money for that. And it's like, so then what can we use highway money for? And again, Scott McClure has even said that that's a legislation thing that MVH restricted. Hopefully down the pipeline will get a little bit looser but I mean, seems like no one wants to pony up any money for it, but everyone wants the money for it. So, and again, we know that the roads need to get taken care of. We know it's a priority, but at the end of the day,
We discussed the wheel tax, and we explained to him that in all actuality, you're never gonna bring enough on wheel tax.
No.
Because it's just the amount of money that Porter County unincorporated includes, it's never gonna make what they need. So it doesn't make a lot of sense to do that. We also talked about levies, we talked about other things, but what I think is happening is they've got things earmarked, not knowing when these projects are gonna take place. So they earmarked amounts, whether they're gonna take place 2 or 3 years from now or next year. And I think that's part of the situation, the planning in that. If we could move that around and work with that, that might be a solution. But they don't want to, because like I said, they earmarked it for certain projects. That's my interpretation.
correct, yeah, and it's just, it just gets frustrating. I mean, I know, Blarick has sat down with, seems like, from what I can tell, dang near every council member, and everything that I've heard from everyone is go ask the auditor where we can find $1.5 million or $3 million. And
We give a solution and it's like, oh, no, that won't
Can't
work.
do that.
Yeah.
No, no, that won't work.
it's just immediately
Okay.
no. And just kind of like we were just talking to the commissioners, like, you know, we're to the point now where our bag is full with what we bring in. I mean, it's like, we as a county just need to bring in more money. And again, whether that be departments raising fees, whether that be, you know, again, we obviously want to go to the tax well last, but, you know, how many different ways can you raise revenue in the county?
Yeah, that's the thing, just finding options for them. I think the animal
Animal
shelter, we did a
shelter,
good job.
what, E911 has the potential, you know, for their fees to go up, but again, that has to come from state. You know, some of the other fees, I think what Stormwater said, potentially, what their stormwater fee was going up. And then they were potentially looking at maybe raising another fee, I don't know,
You're talking about the bridge.
or a bridge, that's what it was. Oh, yeah, the bond. It's just, I mean, again, it's one of those things that, you know, at least since we've come in, and seems like a little bit before that, it's just every single year it pops up and it's like, what do we do? Where do we get it from?
Well, I can tell you what you could do. And I'm not saying it's the right thing to do, because I saw it last year, and I think it was right, you know, I mean, we can take from this, take from that, take from this, get through this year. I know I can do it. I mean, I know we can. We can do it.
Oh, yeah,
But then,
I can.
but then we're kicking the can down the road to 25, 20. I mean,
Eventually, you're gonna have to face it.
eventually you're gonna have to face the facts that, you know, there's more,
There's gotta be a better way.
there's gotta be a better way.
Yes,
There has to be a better way.
and it just needs to be planned for,
Right.
is the main thing. I mean, again, you know, take either your unexpended amounts, or, you know, cut a payment here or there on something else, and, you know, I'm not asking you to go hire people, but, you know, if you really want this match every year, you know,
You have to
Jim,
plan for it.
you know, Jay.
How much do we put towards, you know, offhand, how much we put towards paving for the county?
Like at the beginning of the year?
I know we gave some ARPA money, we've been kind of putting some money in extra, like the one we did like 3 million extra on top, because we had some ARPA money, I thought, but
I think at the beginning of the year, they budgeted like 1.2 paving. And then at the end of the year, the bill's always 4.5, 5.
so now we, and then
That's
our-
that's the CCMG
CCMG
and all all this other stuff that pops up, so. I mean, they planned for the 1.2, but then it's always $3, $4, $5 million a year that they need. So it just needs to be planned for, and or new revenues coming into, you know, support it.
Speaking of plan for, we met with IT.
I'm thinking,
Oh, we're not that interesting for you.
this is over my head.
Well, while you're here, do you
Is
wanna
there
talk
something
about
you
your
want to
budget?
The only thing that I'm in need of, but, I, wasn't gonna put in my council budget, but I was gonna ask commissioners for, is our, copy machine is on its last leg, it seems. And, so we're in need of replacing that. So I don't know if I should put it on this.
Well, you go through IT.
Well, here's the thing. When we got this years ago, 2019 is when we got it. They didn't loop us in. They took us out of the rotation of all the equipment. And so we had to get ours differently. When I got it approved for council meeting, they said, and at that time it was Don Welson, they said, Don, put her back in the rotation, put extension back in the rotation. So then Don left, and so then when I tried to talk to Lee, he said that he talked to commissioners and they said, oh no, just leave it the way it is. So I'm not in the rotation, so now so
We'll touch base with Lee and find out.
Okay,
Exactly.
I would
And then we'll help
appreciate
you out
that.
and direct you right where.
And my only other issue, the only other increase that I will need is 3% on our contractual services. So our contractual services will go up to 175,000 something. I think we're at 168 right now.
And what does that cover?
That covers, part of the salaries, well, it covers salaries and benefits for the extension educators, so 4 of the staff, in the office.
Now, is that state mandate or is it
That's a
legislation?
university request for that contractual for 4 educators. So, as far as everything else, the only other change that I'm planning on making for my budget is taking money out of part-time and putting it into our hourly. Just because we haven't used up our hourly, I'm having a very difficult time trying to get people hired. So,
What's your rate, if you don't mind me asking?
pardon me.
What's your rate?
Well, I'm very low. Right now it's 13, our high end is 15.
Okay.
And, we have one, we're down to 1 part-time person and we pay her 13. So I thought I would increase her amount, but generally I do that. I don't submit information to the council. I just put it on one of those little change of pay but I don't up it at $3.
I think that's because you're the extension and Purdue has a contract.
Yes.
Yeah, it's not that it comes out.
Yeah, but all of that pay is, the educator increases are handled at the university, but I'm just talking for my part-time person, that $13 an hour. Like if I were gonna give a pay raise, it'd be $1 or less at the
And
time.
it's a status change that you
Yeah,
got. It's not
yeah,
a 144 that
exactly.
you have to have approved
Yeah,
by the
yeah.
council.
Yes, okay, thank you, that's different, all right. So when you're talking about $3 an hour, I'm like, oh, I've been doing this all wrong, so. These are things you learn.
Well, and it's all new, you know, and every year it changes with legislation.
Yeah, I'm sure that's true.
Just trying to keep up with that.
So I don't really have big ones except for that copy machine. You can help me out with that.
If everybody in the county just needed a copy machine, yeah, trust me, it'd be great.
Listen, I should rephrase it. I have big I wants, but I'm realistic on what my expectations
Little
are.
needs.
Yeah,
Big I ones. little-
yeah, exactly. Yeah, we're doing pretty good.
Cool.
And just so you know, you were talking about raising fees. Part of our new expectations from the university are that we generate more fees. So, you know, some of our programs that used to be free will now have charges to them.
Has it given you guidelines for those?
Oh, yes.
Okay, so that you have an idea of what you have to. It's not like you can just arbitrarily pick it out. They've told you what
Right,
they're
we have
expecting.
to create a budget sheet and that has to be approved at the university. They double check that. And then we have an online system then that we're supposed to use, which I don't like to use, but I'm coming around to accepting that this is the new way and I have to do it. And so people would be registering via this online system, event. And so then the budget sheet would have to match what the expected income and expenses are. So you know, we're not gonna make big money. The only thing is that we are now encouraged to charge for the time it takes to create and present some of these programs.
You're gonna cover some of the costs.
Yeah.
Keep saying.
Yeah, so, it's a new way of doing things. It's hard for me because I'm old school and,
Nothing wrong with that, I'm so old school too.
you know,
Trust me.
We know how old school I am.
Nothing wrong with that.
but I came on when we didn't charge anything for much of anything. And so it's been a little hard for me to accept, but I do understand it, you know, our federal allotment, because we're funded through federal, state and local monies, that federal dollar hasn't changed for 20 years. And so it's kind of crunch time. So we have to come up with some other income.
That's how we feel at the county and crunch time.
So, you know, it's not my expectation to really boost up my requests. And don't have any new jobs or any new people I want to hire. I'm just.
Oh, we appreciate that.
Yes. Okay, so with
Well,
that.
thank you very much. Thanks for coming. I
Yeah,
appreciate
well,
it.
it's my pleasure.
Yeah.
Just invite me anytime. I prefer not to be on camera, but okay.
We're gonna kill him.
Yeah, yes, it is. Talking
Thank
about-
you.
talking about
Thank you.
budgets and money.
We're talking about IT, and IT's biggest problem is planning for equipment for the next 3 to 5 years. Because we've been getting a lot of scam fish emails it says from the auditor, from the payroll department. We know it's not true, but these things are coming in, and you never know if it can get into that, what else is getting in. So they were talking about backups and some of the other concerns and issues, and I think Ryan was talking to them in more detail. Do you want to touch base on their concerns, majorly, what they were looking at financially and otherwise?
I mean, so there's a couple of things that we've been moving around. One of the things that we do want to try to encapsulate into at least CCD is a 5-year replacement plan for IT. It's just one of those things where I think we've kicked this can down the road far enough while some people are still old school and while, some people may be more new school, it's not changing. Technology is not going away. It's not gonna get any less. It's going to keep going, and the farther and farther we fall behind in some of the departments and some of the just machines, that it's gonna cost us more in the long run to fix than we actually have a replacement plan. Now, again, we've also talked to Lee about it, where if we do the initial 5-year replacement plan, that after that, his replacement should also go down.
Right.
Rotate.
Where, yeah, okay, you put the initial investment in, but you switch over to Office 365 and do all these little things that you want to do, and that's fine, but which will it makes us safer, it makes us more secure. So these are all things, working in the right direction, but at the same time, him knowing that, you're not getting $500,000 a year forever just to replace everything.
What are they asking for in the next couple of years? Just some big answer for us.
$500,000 a year for the next 5.
Okay, okay. What do they need though?
Yeah, no, right.
No, they would need probably every bit of it.
To bring us up to where
Yeah.
we should be.
And we were talking about that, since we're in the big, we don't realize the things that happen at the other buildings. And like this year, there was a problem with their tower and some of the equipment there. And the courts were down for 2 weeks. And you know what happens when the courts are down. I mean, they couldn't even access it through laptops at some points in time. But since it wasn't realized here, people didn't understand the pressure that they were going to be trying to get the equipment, because the equipment they had is old and they couldn't find it to replace it and repair it. So when you've got the courts, talking about, because they have 30 to 50 hearings a day and you're closed for 2 weeks, that just backs up. And so that was a concern of theirs, trying to get this stuff all together. Because it does have to do with safety also, because the individuals that are, whether it's a misdemeanor or whether it's a traffic violation or anything else, there's times when warrants have to be issued and times for other safety issues that need to be involved. And it was a concern of Lee's that they had to go enforce, since they were totally unprepared for it, they had no idea, of course, the equipment. It caused some major concerns on the department.
Because, while it's not imminent, it's not on the border of happening, if it did happen here, he said we would be down for every bit of 6 weeks before we were back up.
So there's only 2 courts, 1 clerk's office, 1 prosecutor's there, so you've only got four departments there. Here, can you imagine if all of us went down? So that's a major concern.
mean, I could only imagine Mr. Commissioner Biggs walking up and down the hallway yelling, like, he would blow his fuse. And rightfully, I mean.
Everybody would, I mean, that's
Well, that's why planning is so.
so important. Exactly. And to Lee's defense, last budget, you know, he spelled out, hey, there's some things I'm gonna be looking for, but again,
No money.
when you don't have the money, well, can you get by with this month? So,
Let me ask this, does we oversee, let's just say a department, I'm just gonna pick EMA. Let's just say they need a new copier, do they go through Lee, or do they like put in a capital outlay and get their own? How does that work? Are we under one umbrella?
No, it's all different. It's all different. It depends on the department head. It depends on the direction that the commissioners give them. There used to be a time when everything had to go through Lee, so there was continuity. So we'd have the same type of printer, so that if we would have, you know, the same type of cartridges, and it wasn't an issue. And you would have the same type of copier, you know, whether you have a color one or a black one, you'd have this or that. Well, recently, we've done some changing because of the service that we were getting from a couple of the vendors. And so it's like a hit and miss, and some people don't even suggest it. If they've got a line item there and they've got money in there, they just do it themselves.
That was a perfect example, though, is like, she did, like, getting that rotation back in, it's like, anytime you need a new copier, it's like, well, I either gotta fight for it myself and get an additional, or be like, if everybody's on the same page, she doesn't have to come in here and beg for new copiers,
Exactly.
you know? Like, if we.
And there are times we rotate them. Let's say you need a bigger one now, so the smaller one can go to another. store.
exactly, we just did that not too long ago, I think. Within this year, I thought we did something. Another department got a copy that they needed a different one.
Well, I mean, I'm just, like, just perfect example, like, the copiers that we have in our office are extreme, but we also print
Right,
200-page documents at a time.
right.
I guarantee you, here in 5 years, we could give her one of
Right,
those,
and
and
that'll
that would last her for 10 more years.
Yeah.
Like, it's just one of those things where, again, if we plan correctly, those types of things, you know, almost take care of themselves, but.
Almost, how do we get to a point where we're operating that way after all this? Unity,
First of all, you have to do a complete inventory.
yeah. I mean,
And you would have to break it
that's
down by
fine.
types and needs, and then you would have to break it down by age, and then make a plan for replacement.
Well, I mean, the other complication too is like some of the departments have entered into lease agreements with like long-term lease agreements for their copiers, and it's like, that's outside the purview of IT, and it's like, you know, we have
Each
to.
department pays for all their own.
Yeah, like when you have people like that are leasing equipment like that for 10 years, so it's like.
Right.
But I mean, it'd probably be a good start to go through and see who's got things in their budgets and line items for. Stuff like IT equipment like that. Yeah,
Because if he is purchasing more than once, he can get a better cost, number one, and that money can be used for other items.
You know, it's interesting, Red, I had a meeting with, I said EMA, because those first thing that came to mind, met with Lance Bella, he's looking at, some radios. Transmission radios for EMA, and I asked him how many he had 12. And I said, well, why doesn't Fallon just get 12 extra radios and have 12 designated for EMA? He said, well, because he thinks they have Motorola and we have EF. We have EF Johnsons, they're not compatible.
Yeah.
I said, how in the world did that happen? You know, it's things like that where it just makes no sense to me of why, you know, they talk to each other. But I guess one was, I guess Motorola is more expensive. At the same time, it's like this whole consolidation idea, wouldn't that make more sense to just, you know, let's just say, you know, the sheriff is responsible for, you know, public safety radios, whether it's hazmat, EMA, 911, and that's their budget, and then you have all these other departments, you know, 911, Debbie and Lance having a budget to replace radios.
Maybe
Just
they
a
could
simple
pick up
thing
some
like
of those,
that.
Well, I think part of it too has to fall in the fact that the sheriff is an elected official and the other two departments fall in the jurisdiction of the commissioners. Number one. Number two is, like Debbie and I, we were talking with Debbie and she was looking at purchasing,
The reason they have to switch their radios because their VHF frequency is going away.
Yes.
And
So
so
it
they,
worked for a while, but
I guess, yeah, now they're switching it to where all their radios,
digital or
yes,
digital.
yep.
But we were talking about her getting some of the outside emergency systems together and maybe appropriating, but she says she has money purchasing so that they would all have the same type. Yeah. And so I told her, I said, make a list and start doing that instead of waiting the last minute and having this big amount. Do a little bit at a time. And that's, we had talked about that last time with that.
I'm just gonna throw this out there to the group, you know, we talk about. You know, the wells running dry, our biggest expense is people. Our biggest, you know, that's what we pay. And it just comes down to, I mean, and this would be some bread to share with the other council members, is that we just can't be hiring more people. I mean, and have to tell them, I said, if you're coming to us to hire additional, I mean, you can replace. But additional staffing right now, I don't know.
I kind of had that in the back of my mind,
Yeah, it's just,
you know, but
The sooner the better, we would say that, because it's like, rather than 2 months from now getting to those meetings, like, if that is indeed like the council's wish is like, it's time to nip it in the bud right now, because like, we're already meeting with it, we're getting it funded, right?
Yeah, but if they have another fund they can take it from, it might be considered. But if they're expecting it out of general fund, no.
my question would be, if they had another fund, how long would that fund sustain?
And there would have to be an understanding that once that, because we had that problem with grants.
Because
we
we're
have
not gonna lay
individuals-
anybody, I don't think nobody's gonna lay anybody off.
No,
I'm just.
they go back to the general fund and expect
Yeah,
it
I
to be
mean,
picked up.
what time do we have to pick that up? And start paying for?
Unless there's an understanding at the beginning, when they put them on there, just specifically state, if your money runs out, you will need to lay these people off or transfer them in an open position. We have that, we
You know, prosecutor just,
30,000 short.
well, not only that, but yesterday, they just told me that they want to move everyone from 8895 and 8897 back to the general fund.
No, those are the 4D.
Yeah, they want to move back to the general
No,
fund.
4D brings money in all the time. There's no reason. It's used by clerks.
It's running out. If that-
Well, if
had-
it's running out, it's
Have this
because,
conversation for years with the council
oh,
and
no, you-
I know. That was
no,
why,
we've got money in 4D. 4D, I don't know if you all understand what happens here. Okay, 4D is a reimbursement that we get from the state. And what happens is any individual that works on any 4D process, like taking payments for support or a 4D file, there's allocated a certain amount of money or time. Also, the overhead costs with paper, lighting, equipment,
all gets reimbursed.
anything, building space, let's say it's 10 by 10 space, it all gets reimbursed by the state. So we get a check and it's divided between 3 departments. The problem is some departments think they're entitled to it more than the others. And they start putting people in there when they're not, it's supposed to be even. Because the clerk gets it, prosecutors get it, and the courts get it. But that was the big thing last year, because they thought, oh, you're gonna spend all of it. It's not your money. It's for 3 departments.
Well, I guess, you know, we raising fees and stuff like that, I mean, that's no, I mean, that's all fine and good. I guess I'm thinking, you know, I just don't know if that's gonna cut it, but
Oh, no,
It's not, it's nickel and dime.
that's, I mean, that's,
It is.
I don't wanna say it's, you know, it's almost like,
but if they want it that bad, then if they want it that bad, they've got to look at options.
yeah.
They can't expect you to fix it.
And
That's when we go to the departments and talk and say, yeah, if you wanna raise your fees, that's fine. I think we're looking at bigger money.
And we do, and as a county, we do need to do that, but we had yeah, but at the same time, like, we had one department the other day that she thought it was frowned upon to go after grants.
Cause nobody ever asked her.
Oh, no one ever told her, or explained, like, they just, she thought going after grants was frowned upon by the county. It's like, no, like, can you please, so I'm just saying, there's those things out, and that's why we bring those things, so again, I'm not trying to say, go jack your fee up from 100 to 200, so we can make a whole bunch of money next year, like, it's just not what it is, but if we have fallen behind, like, what did the animal shelter say?
With this, then state board of accounts, set some of those fees. For some departments.
So for, yeah, like, yeah, for like some of the
Some of them.
courts and stuff like that, but like animal shelter, she said, what was her adoption fee, $75?
Yeah, they're looking at taking it to 125.
And
The other ones are 200.
the next closest one was like 250 or 275.
So they're kind of looking around where other
Right.
shelters. are
And
doing.
again, it's not trying to get up to $200, $250, but if you can raise it to 125, you know. And so that gives them more, and I think those are the types of things that keep them from coming in and asking for additions. You know, it's, hey, we kind of run our well dry.
You up with more self-supporting.
Yeah, like, okay, fine, you know, now you have an extra 50 cents on the dollar, you know, save that up, use that for the things that you actually need, and so I think those are kind of just the general outlook that we're trying to get the departments to look at.
We want them to think outside the box, knowing that the general fund's not gonna fit everybody's need. There's no one else. And so we're looking at, how can you help? How can you accomplish? What do you have to bring to the table to set a guideline for your department, whether it be reduction of overtime? Now, I understand the overtime and not buying a new person, but if you look at it this way, you're paying time and a half for overtime when you pay a straight fee. So let's say you have $200,000 worth of overtime. You can get 3 people for that, 3 new people for that, including benefits. So it's like you sort of have to weigh it out, but in all actuality, some of these aren't going to keep the people, so they just go in overtime. Because we do have constant turning over in certain departments. I think really we have 28 positions, and right now, 28 open positions in one of the departments, and only, would say 14 or 15 are filled. There's 13 open positions.
Why?
No, in one
One
department,
department, which one?
911.
Oh, that's a soup sandwich,
Mhm.
no matter how you look at it. I don't know if that'll ever be.
Well, but those are the kind of talks that, you know, we've had with her, like, you know, hey, if you wanna do this, this and this, you know, okay, you never fill those positions, take just 2 away. You don't have to take 5, 6, 7 away, just take 2 away.
You know what, the thing
We'll
is,
put that money somewhere else.
you know, not to rehash, but going back, that's why we looked at actually consolidating. So we didn't have to hire more bodies. We're not consolidated. We put everybody in one roof. There's no consolidation. You still have this department doing it their way, you have this department doing it their way. There isn't any shared frequency. You know, we were talking about that, you know, use the MDTs more, cut down on radio traffic. Well, I don't want to listen to what Portage PD is doing. You know, I don't want to hear what, you know, Valpo PD is doing. It's like, but then you have this, this whole, you know, concept of, you know, one protocol, one way of doing it with a school shooting. I mean, that was our argument. You know, I mean, everybody can drive their car anywhere in the county. If you have a Valpo cop in Portage, and Portage High School has a shooter, and that cop is going to Walmart in Portage, they hear the dispatch, and they're trained to go and respond just as they would any other school in the county. So we were trying to use that as a catalyst to say, yeah, we all work together, and you all kind of do the same thing most of the time the same way. But I don't want to hear what's going on, you know, so the whole thing went away, and now you need more bodies, because you have to have somebody work, you know, this council, and if they're working today at Portage and volunteer fire department for this, you know, township, they have to do it one way. And then tomorrow they're working at this council, and it's Liberty Township Fire Department and Cows, well, they have their own way of doing it. And it just, so the whole consolidation thing is part of a way of reducing people. And it works, we had somebody come in and actually say it works. That, so there's resistance to change,
Oh,
and it's getting to the point where I think, we just kind of put it out there, I mean, change is coming one way or another, I mean, we can't keep doing things the same way we're doing them now and expect to have the same, type
Or better results.
yeah. We have to do something different, almost, I won't say drastic, but we're getting to where we'll be on, like you were talking about, using some of this foundation money.
We haven't even brought up health insurance. We haven't
well,
brought
they
up,
were talking about being reduced this year. Due to the fact that they're gonna stop the, hybrid housing and just do
High deductible.
the high deductible. And they were talking about the fact that it's a possibility that would be maybe reduced by $4,000 a person. Under higher deductible. So that, but I mean, that's one thing we have to lock the commissioners in and find out if it's gonna happen. But what else were you talking about, things we haven't?
healthcare, health insurance, and, what else, what other big ticket items that we got? Oh, ambulance coming down the pike in a year and a half, year and a half. That's gonna be coming down the pike. Yeah.
You still have any idea what that's gonna cost you?
Oh, they said at least, right now we pay $675 a month, and they said it was easily gonna double. So we're just looking at, 1.3 a month.
So we pay $675,
A month right now.
$675,000 a month right now. I think that could possibly double.
But that's, the contract runs out.
At the end of 2025, so we have this year and next year. Paid for and covered.
Are they still having those public safety meetings? Do you know, I mean, I'm not,
What was discussed with commissioners? First meeting. Come on, Ryan. Sorry, I couldn't make it.
Putting a freeze on countywide,
hiring.
everything, just budgets from this year go over to next year.
What, we talked about that, at the meeting before,
And then
about
with,
having departments cut their budget.
I mean, if you just froze and moved everything over with the new 1.2, 1.5 million that you get from your just normal growth factor, take that, put it in the health insurance fund,
Liquefy next year.
live it by an extra year until the election year's over and everyone can agree on new revenues. I mean, not that it can't still happen this year, it can, absolutely, but if,
I think the assessment hit, a lot of people are getting, that's the election year.
no, the election year has just thrown
Right.
gas on the fire. The fire was already burning, yes, and so it's just, I mean, because, with CCMG, with, again, health insurance, with all these
Commissioners
things.
brought that up for a freeze.
I brought it up and they seem to love it, so. But, I was gonna bring it up to you guys today and, and again, it's not, if you do it countywide, you do it countywide then, and,
So no hiring, no raises.
yeah,
I
no,
just put it out there.
And if you wanna find, if there's something in your budget that you need an additional monies for, look within your currently approved budget and see what you can move over to.
and do
Within your
your,
budget.
We know where the unextended money is, so it's like, okay, well,
Because-
bring your case to us, and it's like, well, why would you take this and put it here?
yeah, Red, in your world, that kind of, brings it back to where, you're basically telling everyone at the beginning of the year, that would, hey, this is your money. I don't care, what you do, salaries or any of your line items, move it all around and do what you want,
Come back and ask.
but yeah, don't come back and
Don't
ask,
come back and ask.
here's your ball. So,
I mean, I can look at how many department heads we have, we can't get down into the granular on each department, at least I
No,
can't. I mean, I'm
no,
hard
no.
time doing this job, you know?
Yeah, we're.
Now,
We-
if I was-
we-
if I was
we
the
can't.
CEO of, you know, Porter County, I could be here every day and have people come in and say, okay, what do you got going on in your budget this year? What, you know, but that's just not how it's done in government. And, you know, you gotta trust your department heads. You gotta make sure that they're doing the right thing with oversight between the auditor and us and, but, I just don't see it, I don't see a lot this year. But I would, I'm a big believer, and I know this might not make everybody happy, but I still think if there are certain people that need certain things, then we have to make sure and get.
Yeah, I mean, we
But
provide-
because you know how everybody,
We provide
it's the same thing, so, well, they got something, how can we do? Well, you know what, it's a need. If IT, I mean, listen,
Now,
we do
now,
not want government to go down, we want county to go down, we want the courts to go down. If Lee needs 500, we gotta figure out, okay, where we get 500,000 from, Lee's gonna get that.
and I've already figured that out with staying within all budgets.
Okay.
And I think that would be top priority. I know it's not as important as roads are. I think our IT is, I mean, yeah, we gotta take care of our roads, but well, we do what we can with roads.
And again, I mean, nothing against roads. I mean, I want to drive on nice roads, not, you know, roads up in Hammond, like, you know, I get that, but at the same time, like, just like we've talked about in a million different rounds, Valpo has their own road money. Portage has their own road money, like, you know,
Right.
we're taking, you know, unincorporated, which I get. Way more roads, way more everything else, but they also get less traffic, less, you know, you know, so it's one of those things where, and again, and again, I haven't met with Jim, this is a question I need to ask Jim, but like, what's his projected plans for every year? Cause like last year he left, you know, almost 300,000 and by 2 minutes. You know, and again, I'm not saying everyone needs to go out and blow their budget out every year and spend every single dime, but if we're flipping over you know, couch cushions to find money for you and then you don't even go spend it all, like, what are we doing here? It's just one of those things where, and again, I just don't know if he has a plan of when he gets the money every year of, okay, now we're gonna go do this road, now we're gonna go do South County.
Well, I
now
saw
we're
his
gonna go-
plan, I saw something.
Again, I just have.
Yeah, no,
I
no,
have-
but I'm saying, I know, I think he sends out every year what roads he wants to do and how much
Okay.
and where at, but again, a lot of it's gonna be dictating how much money he gets. I mean, if he doesn't get $3 million this year.
Oh, that changes the plan.
List
Yeah.
comes, it's gonna
With
get
the
a
worst roads, get the
Yeah.
worst ones first. Yeah.
yeah, exactly, just the ones that have to get done. But, you know, and that's why,
But I agree, we have, you know, people have.
we have to start
operate their
thinking out of the
equipment.
box.
Yeah, but as far as,
We have to start thinking out of the box, because, you know, with this election year, that's gonna be, you know, it is what it is, but. I still think there's a possibility of something with foundation to do something for their EMS going forward, putting something in there, doing something with a certain amount of lump sum money that can, you know.
One of the things Barb brought up at the commissioners meeting earlier today was that I guess technically we don't take all of our foundation money. We only take a percentage of it. We take 3.5
3.5%.
instead of, we can take up to 5 or something like that, so. Again, that's new information to me, whether or not.
But see,
that's
but this is
credible,
where,
true, or-
this is where I get frustrated, because whether it's 3.5 or 5, we're talking pennies on a dollar, okay? 3.5 gets us 5 million, I think, depending, you know, how we're smoothing it out, an extra 1.5% is what? An extra, you know, $1 million or $2 million.
No, it's
Now, it will help.
it's no different than the wheel tax, it's no
It
different
will
than.
help, but you know, we're not putting major dents in things that need to get done. So it's either, you know, raise lit, or we're gonna have to, you know, somehow figure out maybe a combination of, you know, in my opinion, I think you have to show taxpayers that, you know, if we have $185 million in the foundation, and if it keeps going up and the stock market keeps doing good, we have $200 million in there. It's kind of hard to say, hey, we want to raise your taxes, but we have $200 million in the foundation. And I understand, I've been on this for 15 years. I was gonna be the original one that was gonna invest that money 13 years ago. I understand we're supposed to be for healthcare and this and that. Well, things change.
well, if I were,
Lot of
I'm a
things.
taxpayer, and I would ask that question.
Hmm.
My brother Bill asked me,
Yeah.
I was just in the office, he's an ag worker, swear to God. And
Yeah, then show me, then let's,
he asked me that same
I'm all
question.
for teamwork, but, don't put it all on the taxpayer. There, you got this money sitting there, there's gotta be a better way.
So this is how, in my opinion, God bless him, he's my brother, and he's smart. He's blue collar iron worker, sitting eating lunch, I just telling Jim this today, Biggs. Eating lunch, where I was talking, was, hey, you're talking about needing money, this and that. So what do you guys do with that foundation money, that hospital money? There's a lot of money in that, isn't there? I said, well, Bill, this is gonna be honestly about a 15 to 20 minute conversation, but yeah, we have $185 million in it. We can use 3.5% of it towards the foundation budget, which covers sheriff, 911, and some other things. And I said, the rest of it goes back in, and I was explaining it to him. He's like, and I said, he goes, well, why not take some of that and do stuff with the county or roads or whatever instead of raising taxes? That's probably a question I'm gonna get 10,000 times. So, and like I said, he reads the papers all the time, just please,
And-
iron worker, and that's exactly what he said.
And again, while, yes, I believe the foundation money should go towards healthcare, the ambulance contract coming up, those types of things. So if you could expand it and do those type of things, like you said, or take a little bit extra out, that frees up money in, say, lit or these other places, that then we could use that money to offset.
Cost.
So I had a public official tell me, I was on the phone, I was just running, I'm an idea guy, solution guy. Like, you can't just say, hey, we need money. Let's just raise taxes. I'm like, okay, well, maybe there's some other ways we can think about it, outside the box. So we have foundation. Oh, no, you can't get foundation money. Why can't we? I know it takes a 10 overall, but, we didn't expect, our dollar to go down 20% either in the last 2.5 years. I mean, that's what I was telling Jim Biggs today. So there's a lot of people out there hurting, man. I mean, and thankful if you got a job, be thankful, because there's a lot of people that they're cutting back Comcast. And like I'll say this the day I die, rich people can afford it, poor people get it for free, and your middle class, they get screwed. And that's just how it is. At least as far as I've been growing up, but there's people cutting back their Comcast, they're cutting back a lot of things. And like I said, until we show them a way we can do things outside the box, I can't say, hey, I'd like to raise your tax number $200, $300, $400 or whatever. It's gonna be 500, whatever. I don't know, but I think you have to throw that stuff out there and make a case to people.
But again, that would internally come with the agreements of, say, we raise the foundation money, okay, which we probably aren't gonna use on roads. But again, that then frees up, say, lit money for stuff, whatever, however we wanna move it around.
Even if you said to people, hey, look, we tap foundation money for these items, whether it be ambulance service, whether it be roads, whatever. I mean, but instead of asking for a 75% increase, 0.75 in lit, maybe we're only doing 0.5%, then we're up to 1% instead of 0.5%. Like,
Oh, no,
there's something to kind of tell people, like, we don't want to raise your taxes, but we're.
The same as we're asking every department head
Right,
to
exactly.
find your nickels, like, we also have to find ours as well. So, and again, we do have that big fund, and, again, we have other revenues that we can go down, but it also mainly comes with raising taxes. I mean, there's,
Are we set for next meeting, you think, next council meeting?
What's the day?
We talked about.
The 25th.
We talked about coroner with there.
We're also gonna be, I gotta put together too, just alongside, just like kind of an operational change, just like the commissioners have every line item on their agenda on a separate PowerPoint slide. I went ahead and put one together for this one, so each item that's on the agenda has the, department, the amount transferred from what to what, and the reason, the same thing that's on the agenda, but that should make it a little bit easier to follow, like what's being discussed and all that, so I'm gonna give that a shot. If you guys don't like it, we can stop us.
And me, I'm all about eating.
Yeah.
Like I said, I'm still trying to figure out the 116 line item, or accounts we have. And,
Right, right.
Then every year, the state legislature gets involved, and they tell you what you can and cannot do with it, so, yeah, it's fun.
But it's basically just a PowerPoint of the agenda, so it's easier to follow, so
I'm gonna try and keep these to an hour.
Yeah,
I'll
okay.
get this.
What do you got?
Just want to say I appreciate what OE gets. This is more educational for me as well, really. Just wanted to kind of listen into the process. Haven't heard anything prior to the October meetings. But yeah, very appreciative what the allocation that Opportunity Enterprise gets annually. So yeah, just educational, so I appreciate it. Sure.
You
Well,
guys,
thank you.
you guys coming for a raise?
Not anymore.
Sorry, man, I love OE. I was actually.
That was not the plan coming in.
The only thing I can do,
What's that?
I always donate to OE,
Appreciate that.
but you know what I should have done? I should have put a bid on the Cubs tickets.
Oh, yeah?
Because I donated the same amount anyways, and I said, at least I would have got Cubs Sox tickets.
There you go.
out of it, but, yeah.
So you were at the gala?
But yeah, it was
Thank
funny
you.
because it got blessed whoever it was that bid on the Cubs Sox ticket.
Yeah.
right? Well, there was Cubs Sox, Red Sox, there was a Cubs, maybe, there were like 3 games, right?
Mhm.
And as a Sox fan, I'm going, I'm not picking Cubs Sox, right? So this guy, he's, $2,500, he gets a high bid, and the guy goes, what game? He goes, Cubs Sox. I went, oh my God, Cubs Sox. Man, I would not have picked the Cubs Sox, but yeah, them are always fun events.
Yeah, it was a good
Always,
night.
them are always good events.
Appreciate
They
it.
raise a lot of money and for great cause, so.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah.
Yes, it was a great night.
I hope you can appreciate sitting here kind of I know everybody,
Oh, yeah.
everybody in the county thinks we have big pots of money everywhere.
I
Now, great, we do have a big pot, $185 million,
Sure.
but it's, that.
I'll take it.
But yeah, yeah. No, I mean, I just, going through that currently right now with OE is, looking at every department on their wants and needs, but there's limited Medicaid dollars that are coming in. And you're exactly the same thing. How do we allocate those? And I think one thing that resonated was, someone said, the department that speaks the loudest usually is the one that gets the most, and the ones that sit back, I always feel bad for those ones that sit back, because I am saying yes to the ones that need, and there's gonna be some more here too.
Well, listen, it's tough conversations. I mean, and, and that's why I would say the tough conversation is if a department does need something. As far as when we say a budget freeze, if somebody needs something, we have to do what we need to get done, and we can't worry about, well, so-and-so might complain because so-and-so's, well, you know what, this is a need, and it needs to get done.
But while we're looking also at freezing, we need to make sure that the items that have been unexpended may be put to the side so we
Yeah.
address those needs, because just because they've always had that much in their budget, they may not be spending it.
Yeah.
And there comes a time when we need to look at that, plus have a pot for those situations where they have to have.
I agree. No, I
So like,
agree.
it's what you said earlier, coming up with a solution is like, the easy way to say it is freeze, nothing, no. The next step up from that is saying, what do you need? Now let's look at your budget. Here's a suggestion. Take out of this, and this. You need 50K for a new printer? You
Right,
didn't expend 50K here. So it's still the same budget,
right.
but we came up with a solution to it. I mean, Karen's
Well,
been hard.
there's the situation where a lot of these people have had the same amount constantly. Like I said, have some that come back for additional, but they don't spend what's in their budget. Instead of transferring it and addressing their need there, they just come in for more and more and more.
Well, that's
and then
why we
locks up the money.
appreciate you guys kind of being the watchdog before it gets up to us, because I appreciate it, because, like I said, we're not full-time council people, we put in, as much time as you can, but it's a lot of line items, man, a lot of moving parts here, so.
So if I could real quick, so not this year, but what would, the group here want to see from an Opportunity Enterprise if there was an increase requested? Is it the impact to the county, the impact to our agency, the folks that we're serving? Because we have had the same amount for quite a few years, and it's worked well. It is allowing us to provide the services that we're providing. If there were to be an increase, what type of argument do you want to hear from us?
I think in the past, we've always looked at the numbers, the people that you're serving, the people that you're addressing, what type of services you're providing, how they're affecting the community, how you're interacting with the community. I think those have always been positive.
And how cheese if it's off the county by someone's providing it, not
Sure.
profit. I mean,
Okay.
they're, in my opinion, that's why I look at it.
Well, they specialize in it.
100%, that's,
And that's what we've always tried to illustrate, yeah,
Right.
the impact on the county, the wages we're providing to folks.
personally, I would tell you.
Yeah.
In my opinion, this is the wrong room. I would be downstate. I would be paying those guys for money, because that's a shame what they do downstate, in my opinion. And, versus I think there's a lot of good nonprofits that do a lot of good work that deserve more money than what you get from the state. So
Yeah,
that's what I've been lobbying downstate.
our CEO Neil just got back from DC, so he's gonna fly in out there for 3 days and, so yeah, he is much more involved this last couple of years with legislators, but yeah, I appreciate that.
Yeah, I mean, I would say there's no real argument. It's, it's obviously, your needs, but again, it's coming with needs, not always just wants, It's, hey, if we got 2 more people, we could extend it out to this many more people. If we got 1 more van, we could service now this half
Sure.
of Porter County. It would be more those things than, well, we would like to do these things and, well, I mean, it's more, okay, but we really do need to do these things.
Sure.
We need to expand it and, I mean, those are like the main things, so, I mean.
We're numbers people.
Yeah.
So we always look. at
Yeah,
numbers.
no, I agree, yeah.
Dave's our political man.
So, I mean, yeah, I mean, whether, again, it'd be, I mean, we always tend to push away from more personnel and, we would rather see capital things just because, again, once you go hire a person, then you're always gonna be coming back to us, hey, we gotta keep paying this person year after year, so. I mean, we prefer capital things more than, I guess, personnel, but at the same time, if, just like in our parks department, if you hire 1 or 2 more people, it could all of a sudden open the, double the amount of kids that you could let into the park, so it's just always one of those things that, again, as long as it's thought out, it's needed, and it can, expand, it can actually expand what you guys do. I wouldn't see the county having a huge issue with it. I know what Council on Aging just asked for 10%.
Yeah, well, I mean, and like really good.
For the start, they do their.
They're levy based.
So,
But just like this was, I think your question is excellent, but just like this was pretty eye-opening for you, I think it goes both ways too, like for us to kind of see, all right, I think council members or whoever else would benefit greatly from seeing these discussions with amongst your internal organization as well. So you kind of get to know a little bit more of what's going. I mean, I think that's another good place to start, just like this was eye-opening for you, reciprocity there,
Sure.
so.
Sure.
Well, in the
I love
olden
that.
days,
I have no problem.
in the
Oh,
olden
really?
days,
save me a whole bunch of meeting time with a whole bunch of people.
Yeah, really, it's, like I always say, it is what it is. Yeah, this much money to get these things done, we have to prioritize, and at the end of the day, that's what you do, right? When you're doing business, what you do in government, non-for-profits, that's, although I will say, you guys are at an advantage because, I mean, there's not too many people who don't like OE. So, you guys do, like I said.
well, and all the services you provide too.
We've been buying popcorn, like I said, my wife and I have been supporting OE ever since, God, I mean, my kids were doing field trips from Liberty, they go over there and,
Oh, yeah?
oh,
How
God.
about, do volunteers or anything?
Yeah, doing stuff, yeah,
I think we use the shredding service this year and last year so much because we're taking care of our
yeah,
overabundance of
yeah.
documents that had to be shredded.
Oh, okay, so do some purchase,
Right.
okay, great, thank you.
And you can see at your gala at how much the community supports you, so.
Yeah.
You guys have a really good thing going.
We appreciate you. We appreciate what you do for us.
Thank you. Great to hear, I'll take that back.
Absolutely.
Yeah, thanks for letting me join, I wasn't quite sure what the meeting was, but I
Yeah.
appreciate it.
Oh, okay.
I saw, no, and this is, yeah, I saw the,
Every Thursday, this is what we do. and,
Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we just keep
Try to
going
get
through it.
together.
and Again,
Shut off.
it's an idea.